African Christian Democratic Party leader, sharing his insights, Reverend Kenneth Meshoe. Reverend, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. There's a long-standing question, a controversial one that this bill is considering, and that is the question, should women, same as men, be able to marry more than one partner? That is to say, should polyandry be recognized as an equal union to polygamy? This, of course, has a religious implication. What's the view of the ACDP on this question?
So it is wrong for government to try to impose their immorality on society. All cultures in South Africa were not established after 1994. All cultures respected and promoted marriage of a man to a woman or more than two women. It has been throughout the cultures. But when we come to scriptures, it is one man marrying one woman. So when people are threatening religious people, particularly church leaders, by saying you will be guilty of discrimination if you don't want to do what the unbelievers say must be done, then that will be intolerable. And I'm one of those who fear God enough to go against any state, any government, any president that might try to force me to do what that person knows is the right thing before God.
Yeah, but South Africa, Kenneth, Reverend Meshoe,
over the age of 50, who does not know that in South Africa, that had a foundation of biblical principles or morality based on scriptures, a morality that was not against the morality of other religions. Now you have people, some who claim they have no religion or they are tired of the religion they were part of before. They now want to introduce something that will be imposed on South Africans.
Yeah.
We will see them at the during elections at the polls if they want to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, South Africa is a secular state that recognizes all religions as being valid. Christianity isn't the only religion being practiced in South Africa. Why should the government confine it to the order of biblical scripture rather than saying, as a constitutionally enshrined country, we recognize all religion and all non-religious practices that are within the confines of the Constitution?
Two things. Number one, there is nowhere in the South African Constitution where you find the word secular. You should give me the section and the clause that says that. You will not find it in the Constitution. Fortunately, when the Constitution...
But the inverse would also be would also be true, right? The inverse is that South Africa, knowing the Constitution, is South Africa recognized as a religious state, more importantly, neither as a Christian religious state.
Fortunately, I never said South Africa is a religious state. I've never said that, fortunately. What I'm saying is, South Africans know that all cultures as we grew up, as we were born in this country, our grandparents have never tried to change the cultures of other people or religious convictions of other people, but it is the late ANC that many people are saying is not the ANC of Mandela. That is in there. And I'm saying, if they want to say it is discrimination, when a religious leader refuses to marry people of the same gender, then we will meet at the polls.
How then do you account...
South Africa will choose likewise. This is an election item that ACDP is going to use effectively.
Reverend Meshoe, how then do you account for cultural practices that precede democracy and or even precede the empire and, of course, colonialism in South Africa, where polygamy, polyandry, particularly polyandry in instances of matriarchally led societies, was a norm and a practice on the continent and in parts of Southern Africa, including South Africa. How then do you account for that?
Well, in South Africa, we need to know which clause and which bill, if at all it was legal, something legal, you need to show it to us. But from what I know, you cannot point anything that my age. No, any woman who was married to 5 men, for example. I don't know. of one, because it was not practiced. If it was practiced in South Africa, it was practiced secretly and not openly.
But it's not seemingly unusual, given that it's being considered as a practice today. Of course, societies evolve and develop as time changes.
Correct, but they are fundamentals. That is why South Africa has more fatherless children than most countries on the continent, except where there are wars. All right? Children are confused. There are no more values, because South Africans think they are smart enough, they can grab anything that comes and change, chop and change, and result in the kind of society that you are having today. South Africans, you know, grew up respecting each other, but today, children in schools don't respect adults, don't respect their teachers. In the homes, divorces are skyrocketing. Why? Because South Africans are moving away from the foundations they grew up with, where their parents would live together peacefully with their children. But today it's no more happening. Why? Because South Africans are trying to ignore the values that made the foundation of their lives. And I'm saying, and the ACDP says, we need to, for the sake of our future, we need to ensure that we do not throw out of the window everything we believed in when we grew up and everything that made our parents stick together with their children at home.
You said earlier that you'll see them at the polls, them being the ANC and other political parties that are in support of this unification bill. You said that about the Marriage Act, the Marriage Act recognizing gay marriage as well many years ago. Why has your party not grown in popularity following your denouncements thereof?
Because we were never forced. Religious leaders were not forced. And I was nobody attempted to force me, and whoever tries that is going to win. It was not such an issue, a big issue then, than it is that government is trying to make it now. Now, obviously, it's a different story, and we will see at the polls.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Really do appreciate it. That is Reverend Kenneth Meshoe, the leader of the African Christian Democratic Party, sharing his insights with us over there.